Welcome to this week's edition of the Weekly Travel Alert. I am Paul Glenn, and with me today from abroad, I've got Steve Glenn. Steve, why don't you tell us a little bit about where you're at, what you've got going on this week?
Hey, Paul, it's great to see you. I am in Barcelona, Spain. I'm about to jump on a cruise ship, the Crystal Serenity. And so we just see perfect weather here. It's like 68 degrees and partly sunny. And that's a fat man's paradise, man.
I say I'll trade you. I think we're up in the 90s all week this week.
Oh,
so,
my gosh.
yeah, no, it sounds perfect over there.
Yeah, this is great weather. And, of course, Barcelona is a world-class city. We were able to do some touring this morning. And hey, I got to admit, my sin. Do you want to hear my sin?
What's your sin of the day?
We checked in luggage. What do I tell you? Never, 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 never check in luggage. We checked in luggage, and guess what happened?
Tell me what happened.
It got lost. So here I am. We arrived at the Barcelona airport. Waited. No big blue luggage anywhere. So then we go try to find a line to stand in. We stand in the line. We're exhausted. You know, that international exhaustion when you arrive in the morning and you haven't had any rest all night. And then we had to wait in line, fill in a form. And they said, well, we found it. It's in Istanbul. And so we got the form filled out this morning. I called them. I said, can you deliver it to our room? And just as we were coming in from the tour, there was this big blue luggage.
So the lost has been found. You've got clothes, so we're not going to have a repeat of 15 years ago when you got to Italy and they never found your bag and you ended up with two outfits to juggle for 4 weeks traveling abroad.
That's when I had to go to Nice, France and find some shorts for me, and the only thing I could find were green and orange plaid shorts. I had people pointing at me as I walked along the promenade. Okay.
The talk of Europe for a month.
Yeah. Hey. But anyway, hey, we're staying at the SLS Barcelona. The SLS is a beautiful 5-star, kind of chic and hip new hotel, brand new, just opened 30 days ago. And so this place is the hot place to be in Barcelona. You know me, I'm kind of chic, kind of.
Well, you do your fish eggs and things while you're traveling in your first class tickets and all that fun stuff. So caviar. So may as well stay at the hippest, hottest resort in Barcelona, Spain.
Hey, today we've got Steve's cruising progression from first timers to full-fledged sea explorers. And you remember how we just a few weeks ago we put the progression of travelers. We said this is how we notice people progress, and every step they get more confidence, and then they take another step forward in the progression of travel. Well, I've done that and put that together for cruising, and I thought this would be, since we're going to be jumping on a cruise ship, I thought, hey, this would be a good thing to talk about. I think this is close to our 60th cruise. How many have you been on, Paul?
I'm sure I'm up somewhere around that 15 or 20. There was a period where it just wasn't something that was of interest, but I think we've gotten at least one in here in the last 3 or 4 years every year, and then we did quite a bit growing up, just because it was a good value, as you'll talk about with some of these different options that are out there. Good value as well as great for family travel. So all the things that we'll hit on here this morning.
All right, here we go on Steve's cruising progression. Number 1, the Test the Waters cruise. Paul, these are the 3 and 4 day cruises, usually going from Miami, Fort Lauderdale, Port Canaveral. These are the sun and fun cruises people used to get away. A lot of them are weekenders. You know, they go maybe Thursday, Sunday, or Sunday, Thursday. and they're an easy way to get introduced to cruising. Then there's, they're under $500 usually. I've seen them as low as like 199. So it's a
That's what I think. Yeah.
great value. And I don't know, how many of these have you been on? You've been on quite a few of these, haven't you?
I'm sure we've done probably 6 to 8 of those, and yeah, it's a great way to put your toe in the water, see, get the experience. Unfortunately, though, it's the flip side of that is you're going to tend to, on these shorter cruises, you're going to hit destinations that all these short cruises are hitting because they can only get so far in a short amount of time. And so it'd be like Nassau, the Bahamas, and things like that are overrun with cruise ships. So although you get the experience, the destinations tend to be a little lacking in what the opportunities are there. So the good news is with these short ones is that you get the culinary experience. You get to see, how do you deal with being out on the open water. So a lot of those fears and unknowns that come with those first time cruisers, you can get the answers to. But yeah, you really, if you want to get to destinations that are going to be more unique and memorable, you've got to get onto something that's going to be the next step beyond this one.
You bet. And the other thing that I was just thinking as we were talking about this is a lot of these cruise ships now, cruise lines have a private island in the Caribbean. Mm-hmm. And they've learned that that's how they can make a lot more money, is keeping all their passengers captive on a private island for a day, and all the things that go along with that. Hey, number 2, the classic Caribbean and Mexican Riviera cruise. Paul, these are for the people that once they get hooked, they go, hey, okay, now I'm going for a 7-night Caribbean or Mexican cruise. They obviously depart on the same very popular U.S. ports, Miami. Heck, they even do Galveston. They do L.A.
I say you get Texas and L.A.
Yeah, and they, of course, a lot of them do. Fort Lauderdale is where I have done over half of ours. That when we go to the Caribbean, it seems like they leave from there. So that's really the next step. Is you've tried for the shorter. You say I liked it. I'm going for the 7, and you get a little bit more exotic, a little bit deeper, but not really deep southern. That comes in number 3, Paul, is the deep Caribbean cruises from San Juan. And that's when you fly down to San Juan, and then you get to explore a little bit St. Lucia, Barbados, and Grenada.
It's like St. Martin, Martinique, some of those types of places that get you down into that central southern Caribbean.
Yeah. And if you're like Ryan, our big cruiser there, it's Granola, not Grenada.
That'll give Ryan something fun to play with. Ryan, note 1415 in the recording.
Hey, we're talking cruising today. Number 4, I have it listed as the bucket list cruises. These are like Hawaiian cruises and Alaska cruises. And once again, every step of the way, your confidence kind of grows. I know, Paul, you just came back from Hawaii. And a lot of people say, I like going to Hawaii, but I don't like to pack and unpack, and I want to see more of the islands. Well, Hawaiian cruise, you can oftentimes see like 4 islands. And so
we've done the Hawaiian cruise a couple times, or I have done the Hawaii cruise a couple times, and it is great because even if it's just 4 islands, you might hit 5 stops because you've got 2 stops with Kona and Hilo, I believe, on one island. But you do get a great taste, and you come to recognize the differences. I mean, Hawaii is so diverse. I was there just yesterday, and even on one island, the island of Oahu, you've got deserts on one side and rainforest on the other, and surfing in one area and beautiful beaches that you can walk out in the water for miles on the other. So much to offer, and getting that cruise gets you that taste of everything. So great way to get that, and that's actually how I figured out. I don't think I ever would have gone to a place like Kauai unless I had been there on a cruise, and then come to find out that was probably my favorite place to go in Hawaii. So great way to get that taste. And same with Alaska. You get to touch all these little cities that, outside of cruise season, there might be a couple hundred people that live there, and you get to see and learn the history and get a taste of the culture. So these are definitely great cruises.
You bet. And I know our family's going on a Alaska cruise this summer, July. And
end of July, yeah.
And a great place to take all the family. Both of these are. So I call those the bucket list cruises. Number 5 I have in this week's edition of the Weekly Traveler on Steve's cruise progression is Europe by River, the elegant evolution. Paul, after you've kind of conquered the Caribbean, conquered some of these bucket list cruises, then you try to say, hey, I'm gonna go into Europe, and then you try all these river cruises. And we've done the Danube, the Rhine, and all over Europe. You can go in smaller rivers, and they're just a delight because you pack and unpack once. That's the advantage of cruising. You have your dinners that are elegant dinners, easy to enjoy, and entertainment along the way. But these are just the natural progression. And the nice thing about a river cruise is you only have about 200 people, 200 guests on those river cruises, on most of them. They're getting bigger and bigger and longer and longer. But especially baby boomers, Paul, love river cruising. And now river cruising is expanding into the U.S. with the Mississippi River cruises, cruises all up and down Ohio and other areas. So it's really a great way to see an area without all the hassle and all the mess of packing and unpacking. You can get into the inner parts of all these countries.
And that's what my friends that I was over in Hawaii to be part of the ceremony that they had for the husband. That was one of the things that we were talking about. Is we wanted to. That's kind of the next thing. So I was like, well, we've done Hawaii. Now why don't we? And you live in Hawaii, so why don't we find something like a European river cruise? And she says that's exactly what it is that she wants to get on her bucket list next. So I think, and that goes to, we're not quite the baby boomers, but I think there's something to those that have traveled the world a little bit more. They're military, so they've lived in Italy, they've lived all over the globe and have been based in Hawaii now. And that's something that's still intriguing to somebody that has traveled the world more than probably most. So I think that's hopefully something that I'll be able to check off my bucket list here in the next year or two.
All right. Number 6 on this week's edition of the Weekly Traveler, Mediterranean Magic. That's what we're doing this week. Maria and I are going on a wonderful 5-star cruise ship, the Serenity. And we get to explore. We're in Barcelona. We get to focus on Barcelona and Marseille, Monte Carlo, Portofino. Oh, ooh la la! It's the Italian Riviera. And this is the greatest cruising right here in the Mediterranean. And it's also an easy way to see all the different countries, all the cities along the coast. And you basically get the fun of cruising at night, arriving in the morning, visiting the cities, do as little or as much as you want, and you're back on the ship, and away you go.
One of the things you haven't touched on is, you've touched a little bit on, you've got, with a lot of these, you're going to have a different quality of ship as you progress as well. So it's not just the destinations, but, as we talked about with the shorter cruises, they're a great value. As you get to the longer, obviously the price goes up because of the quantity of days. But then as you get to that Alaska and beyond, you're going to tend to have higher end ships come in as options versus the mega ships that a lot of those basics, the Mexico Caribbeans, the shorter ones, even the week to 10 day ones that are going to be the better values, they're going to be ships that are holding 3,000 to 5,000 people. They're going to be family focused, tons of entertainment, focused on the whole family. And then as you get to these smaller ships, and you talked about, the river cruises and the baby boomers and all those types of things, they're smaller ships. They're going to have great higher quality as far as some of the culinary experience, but they're going to have less options because they don't have the masses to feed. So they don't have the kitchens and the quantity of restaurants, and they also may not have as many entertainment options. So there are a lot of other things that you need to consider as you're thinking through what you want your experience to be and which cruise line to then consider for whatever you want that adventure to entail.
You bet. And in the weekly traveler that we're sending out via email, it goes into great detail of, the mega ships can give you the Broadway shows, the 500 passenger, smaller luxury line, maybe can get a comedian on there or a juggler or somebody like that, but you're not going to have those massive shows. You're going to have probably.
Is that what you are this week? Are you the comedian and the juggler on the ship?
No, I think you're onto something here, Paul.
Wouldn't be the first time.
Yeah, actually, I remember a toga party we went to on a big ship, and I fell through a trapdoor. After my third joke, they put me through the trapdoor. So, hey, you're right, Paul. It's very interesting to know that the mega ships are going to bring you great pricing, but you're going to be one of 5,000, whereas the more intimate ships, if you think about it, if you're on a yacht, we've done yacht cruises with 40 people. We've rented a yacht in Greece and took friends on that, and I think there were 50 people on that, 25 cabins. Mm-hmm. And there's good and bad. We hit some rough water with that yacht, and half
people got pretty sick.
Yeah, and so there's some pros and cons with everything, but definitely I have as my grand finale. Then you go into more exotic destinations after you've done your Mediterranean magic. You do Scandinavia. You just did Scandinavia last year, didn't you?
Yeah, it was great. 14 days over there doing just Norway, really. So, but we have done prior. We did Scandinavia, Russia, Germany, Estonia. Those all on a nice. I think it was a Regent ship 10 years ago, and yeah, just Helsinki, Finland was actually one of my favorites. Tied into that cruise, but yeah, get into some of those exotics, and you learn a lot, a cultural exposure that comes to getting into some of those places and recognizing the differences of what life entails, especially in St. Petersburg, Russia. It's something that really enlightens you and opens your eyes to how blessed we are to be here in the U.S. and be able to live the life and explore and go out and have adventures like what we're talking about, whether it be a cruise or Hawaii or European or Asian, just an adventure of any sort.
You bet. And I know one of my favorites in the exotic realm was dealing with went from Singapore to Hong Kong and went to Vietnam, Bangkok, all those great areas. But you can get very exotic now. A lot of people do Australia, New Zealand cruises. You can do Asia cruises, Japanese cruises. Literally all over the world, there's now cruise ships, and the industry is growing so rapidly that there's more and more ships every year, and they're newer and newer ships too. So some of these young family cruise lines, they have go-kart tracks, they have splash pools, they have everything for the kids, and it's an environment for the family. So with that, that's what I put together for this week's Weekly Traveler, Steve's Progression of Cruising. What do you think, Paul? Did we hit it on the head?
I think we did. I think this was a fun one. I think it's one where, again, I mentioned that we kind of went through a phase that we didn't do the cruise thing for a while, probably more tied into the requirements of our kids and their ages at that time. But over this last 5 years or so, as we've gotten back into it, it's something that's really enjoyable. And like we mentioned, 14 days over in Norway, just being able to pack and unpack once, that's a significant difference from if you were going to go do all the experiences that we did, we wouldn't have been able to do it out of one central hub hotel like we've talked about on prior episodes. So this is a great way to be able to expand what you're going to be able to experience without having to have the hassle factor of the having to change hotels throughout your vacation. So I think it was great. Hopefully the viewers enjoyed it. What else do we have before you jump off and go get on your ship?
Yeah, hey, I wanted, before you signed off, if anybody's interested in cruising, call one of our friendly travel advisors, 402-435-8888, and we'd be happy to schedule an appointment. We work in the vacation team on appointments only, so we literally set up just like you would with your doctor, dentist, and your lawyer. We're happy to serve you, learn more about you, set up an appointment so we can easily plan a great vacation, and that vacation can be a cruise for those of you who want to. Also, check out our website, executivetravel.com. Why don't you give them the zip, boom, beaming, bomb here today, Paul?
All right. Please like, subscribe, share, and add any comments or feedback on topics that might be of interest for future episodes. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next week.